Lieutenant Jack Morgan floated through the dark corridor of the abandoned space station. His flashlight cut through the darkness, revealing walls covered with strange symbols. The air inside his helmet felt stuffy, and sweat ran down his forehead. He wasn't supposed to be here alone. "Morgan, report your position," Commander Kelly Wright's voice crackled through his radio. Jack winced. "Still on level 3, Commander. Just checking out some interesting technology." "You were ordered to stay." "With the group," Kelly said. Her voice sounded angry. "Return immediately." "Yes, Commander." "Just 5 more minutes," Jack replied. He switched off his radio before she could argue. The USS Endeavour had discovered this abandoned Centauri outpost 3 days ago, Captain Allen. Peters had sent their team to investigate why it was empty. Everyone else was searching the main levels, but Jack's scanner had picked up a strange energy reading from deep below. He couldn't ignore it. The narrow passage ended at a massive metal door. It was partly open, with scorch marks around the edges. Someone had forced it open long ago. Jack squeezed through the gap and entered a large round room. His breath caught in his throat. The room was filled with glass containers. They lined the walls from floor to ceiling, each one large enough to hold a person. Most were broken or empty. Jack walked slowly between them, his boots making soft sounds on the metal floor. "What happened here?" he whispered to himself. His scanner beeped loudly. The energy source was close. Jack moved toward the back of the room, where one container still glowed with a soft blue light. Unlike the others, this one was still working. Inside was a woman. At least she looked almost like a woman. Her skin was pale blue and seemed to glow slightly. Her hair was silver and floated around her face as if she was underwater. She wore a simple white outfit that reminded Jack of hospital clothes. Metal bands wrapped around her wrists, ankles, and neck, connecting to the walls of the container with glowing energy chains. A prisoner, Jack realized. Not a patient or test subject, a prisoner. A control panel next to the container displayed symbols in an alien language. Jack couldn't read them, but he recognized the universal warning symbols. Danger, caution, do not release. Jack checked. His radio was still off. Captain Peters would order him to leave this alone. The mission rules were clear. Observe and report. Don't interfere. But Jack couldn't just walk away. The woman was clearly being held against her will. How long had she been trapped here, alone in the abandoned station? "This is probably a really bad idea," Jack muttered as he studied the control panel. Jack had always been good with technology. Even alien tech usually followed some kind of logic. He carefully pressed what looked like a status button. The screen changed, showing what seemed to be vital signs. The woman was alive, in some kind of sleep. State. He worked for 20 minutes, trying different combinations. Finally, the container hissed, and the front panel slid open. Cold air poured out, creating a cloud of mist around his feet. The energy chains still held the woman in place. Jack found another control and pressed it. The chains flickered and disappeared. The woman slumped forward. Jack caught her before she hit the floor. She was lighter than she looked, almost weightless in his arms. Up close, he could see patterns on her skin, like faint blue tattoos that shifted and moved slightly. Her eyes remained closed. "Can you hear?" "Me?" Jack asked. "I'm Lieutenant Jack Morgan of the Earthship Endeavour. I'm here to help you." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then her eyelids fluttered open. Jack gasped. Her eyes were silver, not gray, but actual silver, like liquid metal. They seemed to glow from within, with no visible pupil. "You freed me," she said. Her voice was soft and musical, with an echo that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "After all this time, you speak English?" Jack asked, surprised. She tilted her head slightly. "I speak all languages. I learn them instantly when I hear them. Who are you? Why were you locked up here?" She stood up straight, no longer needing his support. "My name is Lyra. I was imprisoned because of what I am. And what are you exactly?" Jack asked. Before she could answer, alarms began to sound throughout the station. Red lights flashed in the corridor outside. "The security systems," Lyra said, looking around quickly. "They've detected my release. We need to leave immediately." Jack turned his radio back on and winced at the flood of angry voices. "Morgan!" Where are you? The station's defenses are activating. I'm on the lowest level, Jack replied. I found a survivor. We're coming up now. A what? Kelly shouted. Morgan, you idiot. What did you touch? I'll explain later, Jack said. Meet us at the main elevator shaft. He turned to Lyra. Can you walk? We need to move fast. She nodded. I can do more than walk. As they left the room, a security door began to close ahead of them. Lyra raised her hand and the door froze halfway. Jack stared at her in shock. How did you? Later, she said. Your friends are in danger. The defense systems will target all intruders now. They ran through the corridors. Jack noticed that Lyra moved with unusual grace, almost floating over the ground. When they reached a blocked passage, she simply waved her hand, and the debris moved aside. They found Kelly and the rest of the team at the elevator. Kelly's eyes widened when she saw Lyra. What is that? She demanded, pointing her weapon half-raised. She's a prisoner I freed, Jack explained quickly. The station's security is trying to stop us from leaving with her. Of course it is, Kelly said angrily. Because you never follow orders. Captain is going to have your rank for this. The elevator ride to the docking level was tense. The other team members stared at Lyra with a mixture of fear and curiosity. For her part, Lyra seemed calm, her silver eyes taking in everything around her. When they reached their shuttle, the station's defenses had fully activated. Laser turrets emerged from the walls and began firing. Run! Kelly shouted. They sprinted for the shuttle, dodging laser fire. One beam hit a team member in the leg. He fell with a cry of pain. Jack and another soldier grabbed him and dragged him along. Inside the shuttle, the pilot worked frantically to start the engines. Lyra watched the wounded man with interest. Your medical technology is primitive, she observed. I can help. Before anyone could stop her, she placed her hand over the man's wound. A soft blue light spread from her fingers. When she removed her hand, the wound was gone. Everyone stared in silence. The wounded man touched his leg in disbelief. What are you? Kelly whispered. Lyra turned to Jack, her silver eyes seeming to look through him rather than at him. I am the last of the Vexala, she said. A species that evolved beyond physical form thousands of years ago. And you, Jack Morgan, have just altered the fate of 2 civilizations by freeing me. The shuttle broke free from the station's docking clamps and accelerated away. Through the viewport, they watched as the entire station lit up with energy, weapons, systems firing blindly into space. I was imprisoned because my people's abilities frighten others, Lyra continued quietly. The Krell, who built that prison, will come looking for me. And when they do, your people will face a danger beyond anything you can imagine. Jack felt a chill run down his spine. What had he done? Lyra's expression softened slightly. But do not regret freeing me, Jack Morgan. Without knowing it, you may have just saved your entire species. As the shuttle raced back toward the Endeavor, Jack wondered what exactly he had gotten himself and his crew into. But looking at Lyra, with her strange beauty and mysterious powers, he couldn't bring himself to regret his decision. Sometimes the greatest adventures began with breaking the rules. The shuttle docked with the USS Endeavor with a soft clunk. Jack felt the ship's artificial gravity take hold as the shuttle's systems powered down. He glanced at Lyra, who sat perfectly still, her silver eyes taking in every detail of the human technology around her. Captain Peters is waiting in the docking bay, Commander Kelly said coldly, and he's not happy. Jack nodded. He had broken at least 5 different rules by bringing Lyra aboard. But as he looked at the strange, blue-skinned woman, he couldn't make himself regret it. Captain Alan Peters was a tall man with gray hair and a face that rarely smiled. Today, his expression was darker than usual. His eyes widened slightly when Lyra stepped out of the shuttle. Lieutenant Morgan, he said in a controlled voice, would you care to explain? Before Jack could answer, Lyra stepped forward. Captain Peters, she said, her voice echoing strangely in the large docking bay. I am Lyra of the Vexala. Your officer freed me from imprisonment. I offer you my gratitude and my warning. Warning? The captain repeated. The beings who imprisoned me will come looking for me. Lyra said simply. They are called the Krell, and their technology far exceeds your own. Captain Peters frowned. Lieutenant Morgan, take our guest to Medical Bay. Dr. Daniels will examine her. Commander Wright, prepare a full report on what happened at the outpost. I want to know exactly what we're dealing with. As they walked through the ship's corridors, crew members stopped to stare at Lyra. Her blue skin seemed to glow under the ship's lights, and her silver hair floated slightly despite the artificial gravity. Your ship is primitive but functional, Lyra commented. Jack smiled slightly. It's one of Earth's most advanced vessels. Yes, Lyra said. That is what I meant. The medical bay was a large room with several beds and advanced equipment. Dr. Olivia Daniels was a small woman with short brown hair and a no-nonsense attitude. She barely blinked when she saw Lyra. So you're our visitor, she said. Please sit on this bed. I need to run some scans. Lyra sat down gracefully. Your tests will not tell you much about me, Doctor. My biology is not like yours. Dr. Daniels raised an eyebrow. Let me be the judge of that. The doctor ran several scans, taking samples of what seemed to be Lyra's blood, though it was silver rather than red. As the results appeared on her screens, Dr. Daniels became increasingly confused. This can't be right, she muttered. Your cellular structure keeps changing. It's as if your DNA is rewriting itself even as I watch, Lyra nodded. The Vexala evolved beyond fixed physical form long ago. What you see is merely a shell I create to interact with physical beings. Jack, who had stayed to watch, leaned forward. You mean you're not really solid? I can be solid when I choose to be, Lyra explained. But my true form is energy and consciousness, not matter. Dr. Daniels shook her head in amazement. I need to report this to the captain. After more tests, Dr. Daniels ordered Jack to take Lyra to the guest quarters that had been prepared. 2 security officers followed them at a distance. Your people fear me, Lyra observed. Can you blame them? Jack asked. You're unlike anything we've ever encountered. The guest quarters were simple but comfortable. A bed, a table with chairs, and a viewport showing the stars outside. Lyra walked to the viewport and gazed out at space. It has been 5,000 years since I saw the stars freely, she said softly. Jack sat at the table. Why did these Krell imprison you? What did you do? Lyra turned to him. I existed. That was enough. The Krell are collectors of rare species and objects. They feared my abilities and wanted to study me to learn how to use my powers for themselves. And what powers are those exactly? Jack asked. Lyra smiled slightly. Many I can manipulate. Energy and matter. I can see possible futures branching from each moment. I can travel between dimensions that your science has not yet discovered. She sat across from him. But using these abilities in my current state is difficult. I am weakened from my long imprisonment. Jack was about to ask another question, when the ship's alarm suddenly blared. Red emergency lights flashed in the corridor outside. Attention all crew, Captain Peters' voice came over the speakers. Unknown vessels have appeared in our vicinity. Battle stations, this is not a drill. Jack jumped to his feet. I have to get to my post, Lyra stood calmly. The Krell have found us sooner than I expected. Stay here, Jack ordered, heading for the door. Jack, Lyra called after him. Your weapons will not harm their ships. Their hulls exist partially in another dimension. He paused at the door. Then what do we do? Let me speak with your captain, she said. Perhaps we can avoid bloodshed. On the bridge, chaos reigned. 3 massive ships had appeared seemingly from nowhere. They were unlike any vessels Jack had ever seen. They seemed to shimmer and blur at the edges, as if they weren't fully present in normal space. No response to our hails, the communications officer reported. Shields at maximum, another crew member called out. Weapons ready. Captain Peters stood in the center of the bridge, his face grim. He glanced up as Jack arrived with Lyra. These are the Krell? He asked her. Lyra nodded. Yes, they have tracked me through the energy signature of my release. What do they want? Me, Lyra said simply. They will destroy your ship and everyone on it to recapture me. The largest Krell ship fired a beam of purple energy. When it hit the Endeavor's shields, the entire ship shuddered violently. Warning. Lights flashed across the control panels. Shields down to 40%, a crew member shouted. One hit! Captain Peters turned to Lyra. Can you communicate with them? They do not wish to communicate, Lyra replied. But I can try to buy us time. She closed her eyes. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the attacking ships stopped firing. They are scanning us, Lyra explained. I have sent them a message. I told them I will surrender myself if they allow your ship to leave safely. We're not handing you over, Jack said immediately. Lyra looked at him with her strange silver eyes. It is the logical solution, one life for many. No, Captain Peters said firmly. We don't sacrifice people. Not even guests. Helm, prepare for emergency jump to hyperspace. The Krell will follow, Lyra warned. Then we'll deal with that when it happens, the captain replied. For now, we run. The Endeavor's engines roared to life. The ship accelerated away from the Krell vessels, preparing to jump to hyperspace. Jump in 5, 4, 3, ... The pilot counted down. The Krell ships fired again. This time, their weapons struck the engines. The ship lurched violently, throwing people against walls and consoles. Engine damage, someone shouted. Hyperspace jump failed. Captain Peters helped a fallen crew member back to their station. Options? The tactical officer looked grim. At this rate, shields will fail completely in 3 minutes. We can't outrun them or outfight them, Lyra stepped forward. There's another option. I can help you fight, but it will cost me much of my remaining strength. What can you do? The captain asked. I can disrupt their dimensional shifting technology, she explained. It will make their ships vulnerable to your weapons, but only briefly. Jack looked at her with concern. You said you were weakened. I am, she agreed, and this will weaken me further. But I see no alternative. Captain Peters nodded. Do it. Lyra closed her eyes again. This time, her body began to glow with blue light. The light grew brighter until everyone had to shield their eyes. When Jack could see again, Lyra was still standing, but her form seemed less solid, as if she was partly transparent. Now, she said, her voice strained, fire everything you have at the center ship. The Endeavor's weapons unleashed a barrage of energy at the largest Krell vessel. This time, the shots connected. Explosions bloomed across its hull. It's working! The tactical officer shouted in amazement, but, even as they watched, the other 2 Krell ships moved to protect the damaged one. They fired again at the Endeavor, and the ship rocked under the impact. We've hurt them, but it's not enough, Captain. Peters said grimly. Lyra swayed on her feet. Jack rushed to support her before she fell. There is a place we can go, she whispered to him, her voice weak. A planet not far from here. My people left something there, something that can help us. Jack looked up at the captain. Sir, Lyra says there's a planet nearby where we might find help. Captain Peters hesitated only a moment. Give the coordinates to the helm. Right now, any chance is better than none. As the Endeavor changed course, limping away from the battle with the Krell in pursuit, Jack helped Lyra to a chair. Her blue skin had paled to an almost white color. Will you be okay? He asked quietly. Lyra's silver eyes met his. That depends on what we find on the planet and on you, Jack Morgan. You freed me once. Soon you may need to free me again, but in a very different way. The USS Endeavor limped through space, its damaged engines struggling to maintain speed. The 3 Krell ships followed at a distance, like wolves stalking wounded prey. In the ship's conference room, Captain Peters had called an emergency meeting. Engineering reports the main engines are at 30% capacity, Commander Kelly said. We can't outrun them for long. Dr. Daniels stood next to a screen showing Lyra's medical readings. Our guest is also in poor condition. Whatever she did to help us fight has drained her energy significantly. Jack looked at Lyra, who sat quietly at the table. Her blue skin had become almost transparent in places, and her silver hair hung limp around her face. Only her eyes remained as bright. As ever, this planet you mentioned, Captain Peters said to her. What exactly will we find there? Lyra's voice was softer than before. Long ago, before the Krell captured me, my people created safe places throughout this galaxy. This planet holds one such sanctuary. Inside is an artifact of my people's technology. What kind of artifact? Jack asked. A power source, Lyra explained. It contains the essence of many Vexala who chose to merge their consciousness into a single entity. If I can connect with it, I may regain enough strength to protect your ship. Chief. Engineer Sam Miller frowned. So it's a battery? That is a simple way to understand it, Lyra said. But it is also much more. It contains the knowledge and power of my entire species. Captain Peters studied the star map on the table. The planet is only 6 hours away at our current speed. But the Krell will reach us before then. Maybe not, Jack said, an idea forming. Lyra, you said the Krell ships exist partly in another dimension. Could we use that against them? Lyra tilted her head. What do you suggest? If we entered a nebula or an asteroid field, would their dimensional technology cause problems for them? A small smile appeared on Lyra's face. Yes, dense matter fields interfere with their dimensional shifting. It is why they prefer to operate. In open space, Captain Peters nodded. There's a small asteroid field between us and the planet. If we can reach it, we might gain some time. He stood up. Make it happen. Dismissed. As the others left, Jack stayed behind with Lyra. She tried to stand but swayed unsteadily. Jack quickly moved to support her. You should rest, he said. There is no time for rest, she replied. I must prepare for what is to come. And what exactly is coming? Jack asked as they walked slowly toward her quarters. You keep saying the Krell want to capture you for your abilities, but what do they really want? What's their goal? Lyra was silent for a moment. The Krell are not like you or me. They were not born as natural beings. They were created by another species long ago as servants. When they gained independence, they became obsessed with power and control. They believe that by studying me, they can learn to transcend their physical forms as my people did. Can they? No, Lyra said firmly. The Vexala evolved over millions of years. Our transformation cannot be copied or stolen, but the Krell will never stop trying. In her quarters, Lyra sat by the viewport, looking out at the stars. Jack brought her a glass of water, which she took but did not drink. You have questions, she said. Ask them. Jack sat across from her. Why did you let the Krell capture you? With your powers, couldn't you have escaped? I allowed my capture, Lyra admitted. I foresaw many possible futures. In most of them, the Krell would destroy countless worlds in their search for beings like me. By surrendering, I prevented that destruction. But now you've escaped, Jack pointed out. Won't that lead to the destruction you were trying to prevent? Lyra's silver eyes met his. Yes, unless something changes. She leaned forward slightly. That is why you are important, Jack Morgan. Your decision to free me was not in any future I foresaw. You are a variable I never calculated. Jack was about to ask what she meant when the ship's alarms blared again. All hands, brace for impact. Captain Peters' voice announced over the speakers. The ship shuddered violently as something struck it. Jack and Lyra were thrown to the floor. The lights flickered and went out, replaced by dim emergency lighting. They're firing again, Lyra said, climbing to her feet. We must reach the bridge. The corridors were chaos as crew members rushed to their stations. Jack and Lyra made their way against the flow, reaching the bridge just as another blast rocked the ship. Shields at 15%, a crew member shouted. The asteroid field is still 20 minutes away. The pilot reported grimly. Captain Peters looked up as Jack and Lyra entered. We're running out of options, Lyra stepped forward. There is one more thing I can try, but I will need Jack's help. What do you need? Jack asked. Your ship has an external communication array, Lyra said. If I can access it directly, I might be able to send a signal that will confuse the Krell sensors. It would buy us time. That array is on the outer hull, Chief Engineer Sam said. You'd need a spacesuit, and I do not need protection from space, Lyra interrupted. but I need someone to guide me to the right location. My strength is limited, and I might become disoriented. Captain Peters looked at Jack. Lieutenant? Jack nodded. I'll do it. 10 minutes later, Jack was in an airlock wearing a spacesuit. Lyra stood beside him, wearing no protection at all. Are you sure about this? Jack asked through his helmet speaker. No, Lyra admitted, but we have few options left. The airlock opened to the emptiness of space. Jack activated his suit's magnetic boots and began to walk along the hull. Lyra floated beside him, her body surrounded by a faint blue glow. Her hair and the edges of her form wavered in the vacuum as if she was partly dissolving. This way, Jack said, pointing to a large dish-shaped structure. That's the main communication array. They had almost reached it when a beam of purple energy from the closest Krell ship struck nearby. The ship shook and Jack lost his footing. His magnetic boot connection failed and he began to drift away from the hull. Jack! Lyra called out, her voice somehow reaching him despite the vacuum of space. She moved toward him with surprising speed. As she reached for him, her physical form seemed to unravel. Her hands stretched impossibly, becoming a tendril of blue energy that wrapped around Jack's arm, pulling him back to the ship. When his feet touched the hull again, Jack stared at Lyra in amazement. Her body was reforming, solidifying from the energy state she had briefly entered. You really aren't solid, he whispered. Not entirely, she agreed, her voice sounding strained. The communication array, quickly. At the array, Lyra placed her hands on the metal surface. Her body began to glow brighter. Jack watched as the blue light spread from her hands into the array. Traveling through the ship's systems like electricity through wires, the pursuing Krell ships suddenly slowed. They seemed confused, firing their weapons in random directions. It's working, Jack said excitedly. What did you do? I sent them false signals, Lyra explained, her voice weak. They think we are in multiple locations at once, but it will not last long. As they made their way back to the airlock, Jack noticed that Lyra was becoming more transparent. He could almost see through her to the stars beyond. Lyra, your body ... I use too much energy, she said simply. I need to reach that planet soon, or my physical form will dissipate entirely. Inside the ship again, Jack helped Lyra to the medical bay where Dr. Daniels waited. The doctor gasped when she saw Lyra's condition. What's happening to her? She asked, scanning Lyra with her. Equipment. She's fading, Jack said. Doctor, how soon until we reach the planet? Captain says we'll enter the asteroid field in 5 minutes, Dr. Daniels replied. If we make it through, the planet is just beyond. Lyra lay on the medical bed, her form flickering like a faulty hologram. She reached out and took Jack's hand. Her touch felt like a gentle electric current against his skin. Jack, she whispered. If I fade before we reach the planet, you must find the sanctuary without me. Look for a structure that seems to appear and disappear as you watch it. You're not going to fade, Jack insisted. We'll get you there in time. Lyra's silver eyes locked with his. Promise me you will find it. Jack squeezed her hand, feeling it sometimes solid, sometimes like grasping smoke. I promise. The ship lurched suddenly as it entered the asteroid field. Through the medical bay viewport, Jack could see huge rocks tumbling past. Behind them, the Krell ships had slowed, clearly struggling with the dense matter around them. Captain Peter's voice came over the speakers. All hands prepare for planetary approach. We'll reach orbit in 30 minutes. Jack looked down at Lyra, whose form continued to flicker between solid and energy. Hold on, he told her. We're almost there. Her silver eyes reflected the stars outside as she whispered, The real journey is just beginning. The planet looked ordinary from orbit. It had blue oceans, green and brown landmasses, and white clouds swirling in its atmosphere. The USS Endeavour entered orbit with its engines sputtering and alarms still blaring throughout the ship. Damage. Report, Captain Peters demanded on the bridge. Life support is stable, Chief Engineer Sam replied, but engines are failing. We can maintain orbit for maybe 12 hours before we start to fall. Commander Kelly pointed at the display screen. The Krell ships are still in the asteroid field. They're moving slowly, but they'll be here in about 3 hours. Jack stood near the back of the bridge, supporting Lyra. She was barely visible. Now, her form shifting between solid blue skin and transparent energy that sparkled like stars. We need to get to the surface, Jack said. Lyra needs to find the sanctuary, Captain Peters nodded. We can use the shuttle, but I can't risk the entire crew. He looked around the bridge. Lieutenant Morgan, you'll take Lyra down. Commander. Right, you'll go with them. Take Dr. Daniels too, our guest may need medical attention. And me, Chief Engineer Sam added. If there's alien tech down there, you might need an engineer. The captain agreed. The rest of us will stay with the Endeavor and prepare to defend against the Krell. If you succeed in finding this power source, contact us immediately. The small group hurried to the shuttle bay. Lyra moved slowly, her feet sometimes not quite touching the floor as she drifted more than walked. In the shuttle, Dr. Daniels tried to scan her again. I can't get any readings, she said, frustrated. It's like she's not even there. I am still here, Lyra said softly. But my energy is almost gone. Without a physical form, I cannot interact with this dimension properly. Jack sat beside her. Just hold on a little longer. We're almost there. The shuttle launched from the Endeavor and descended toward the planet's surface. Commander Kelly piloted skillfully through the atmosphere, following coordinates Lyra had provided. There, Lyra said, pointing to a large valley surrounded by mountains. The sanctuary is there. As they flew lower, Jack saw lush forests covering the valley floor. There were no signs of buildings or civilization, just untouched nature. I don't see anything, Commander Kelly said. It is hidden, Lyra explained. Land in that clearing. The shuttle touched down in a meadow of tall grass and colorful flowers. When the door opened, warm air filled with sweet scents rushed in. It seemed like a peaceful paradise. Which way? Jack asked as he helped Lyra exit the shuttle. Lyra pointed toward a cliff face about half a mile away. There, they walked through the meadow and into the forest. The trees were enormous, with purple leaves that filtered the sunlight into a soft lavender glow. Strange birds with 6 wings flew between branches, singing complex melodies. This place is beautiful, Dr. Daniels said, looking around in wonder. My people helped life evolve here, Lyra said. We considered it a garden. As they approached the cliff, Jack still saw nothing unusual, just solid rock rising high above them. But Lyra walked directly toward it with confidence. I don't understand, Sam said. There's nothing here. Lyra stopped about 10 feet from the cliff face. Watch carefully. Do not trust only what your eyes see. Jack stared at the cliff. At first he saw nothing unusual. Then, for just a moment, he thought he saw the rock shimmer, like heat rising from hot pavement. He blinked, and suddenly there was an opening in the cliff that hadn't been there before. A doorway made of glowing blue lines. I see it, he exclaimed. Me too, Sam said, in amazement. Dr. Daniels and Commander Kelly nodded as well, their eyes wide. The sanctuary exists partially in another dimension, Lyra explained. Your minds needed time to process what they were seeing. She stepped toward the doorway, but stumbled. Jack caught her before she fell. Her body felt lighter than air in his arms, barely there at all. I cannot go much further. Without help, she whispered. Jack lifted her easily. I've got you. They walked through the doorway together. Inside was a long corridor that seemed to be made of solid light. The walls glowed with soft blue energy that pulsed like a heartbeat. Their footsteps made no sound as they walked deeper into the structure. The corridor opened into a large circular chamber. In the center floated a crystal structure that glowed with intense white light. It was about the size of a car, shaped like a many-pointed star, and it rotated slowly in the air without any visible support. The heart, Lyra said. The collective consciousness of my people. She slipped from Jack's arms and floated toward the crystal. As she got closer, her form became even more transparent, as if she was turning into pure energy. Wait, Jack said, suddenly afraid. What's happening to you? Lyra turned to face him. Her silver eyes were the only part of her that still looked solid. To connect with the heart, I must release my physical form completely. Will you come back? Jack asked. Lyra hesitated. I will be changed. The heart contains the essence of thousands of my kind who chose to merge their consciousness. If I join with them, I will gain their power. But I will not be exactly as I am now. Commander Kelly stepped forward. Is this what you came here for? To merge with this thing? It is the only way to stop the Krell, Lyra replied. With the power of the heart, I can protect your ship and your people. Dr. Daniels was scanning the crystal with her medical device. The energy readings are off the scale. This crystal contains more power than anything I've ever seen. But at what cost? Jack asked, looking at Lyra. You'll lose yourself. Lyra floated closer to him. Not lose, transform, Jack. When you freed me from that prison, you changed the course of many futures. In the original path, I would have remained captive for another 1,000 years. Now I have a chance to truly be free, not just from chains, but from the limitations of individual existence. A loud boom echoed through the sanctuary, making them all jump. What was that? Sam asked. Commander Kelly checked her communicator. The Endeavor is hailing us. The Krell ships have arrived earlier than expected. They're attacking the ship. There's no time left, Lyra said. She turned toward the crystal, then paused and looked back at Jack. There is something else you should know. According to the oldest laws of my people, the one who frees a Vexala from imprisonment is owed a reward. I don't need a reward, Jack said. I just did what was right. Nevertheless, Lyra continued, the reward is offered. When I join with the heart, I will ascend beyond physical form permanently, but I can take one being with me. You, Jack Morgan, if you choose it? Jack stared at her in shock. Take me with you, you mean ... become like you? To transcend your physical form, Lyra said. To exist as pure energy and consciousness, to travel the cosmos unfettered by time or space. That is the reward I can offer you. Another explosion shook the sanctuary. Dust fell from the ceiling. Lieutenant, Commander Kelly said urgently, the captain says the Endeavor's shields are failing. We need whatever help this crystal thing can provide. Jack looked from Kelly to Lyra, his mind racing. What would happen to me? You would still be yourself, Lyra assured him. Your consciousness, your memories, your essence, they would remain, but you would experience existence in ways no human ever has. We don't have time for this, Commander Kelly insisted. People are dying up there. Lyra began to float toward the crystal. I must join with the heart now, with or without you. The choice is yours, Jack Morgan, but you must decide quickly. As she neared the crystal, her body became even less visible, just a faint blue outline around a core of silver light. The crystal pulsed faster, reaching out tendrils of energy toward her. Jack watched, torn between duty to his crew and the incredible, impossible offer before him. Leave behind everything he had ever known or remain as he was. Jack, Lyra called, her voice now seeming to come from everywhere at once. What is your choice? Jack Morgan stood frozen, watching as Lyra's form became almost completely transparent near the glowing crystal. Another explosion shook the sanctuary, sending small pieces of ceiling crashing to the floor around them. Lieutenant, we need to act now. Commander Kelly shouted over the noise. The Endeavor won't last much longer. Dr. Daniels grabbed Jack's arm. Jack, whatever you're going to do it fast. Jack took a deep breath. In his mind, he saw his life on Earth, his family, his career, everything he had ever known and loved. Then he looked at Lyra and the crystal, glowing with power beyond human understanding. Will I still be me? He asked her, his voice barely audible. You will be more, Lyra replied, her voice echoing strangely. But your essence, what makes you? Jack Morgan will remain. Jack took one step forward. Then another. His decision was made. I'm coming with you, he said. Jack, no, Sam called out. You don't know what will happen, Jack turned to his crewmates. Tell Captain Peters and the others, tell them I made my choice, and I don't regret it. Commander Kelly's face showed shock, but she nodded stiffly. Good luck, Lieutenant. Jack walked to where Lyra waited near the crystal. As he approached, he felt a strange tingling over his skin, as if gentle electricity was flowing across his body. "What do I do?" he asked. "Take my hand," Lara said, extending what was now more a tendril of blue energy than a solid hand. "And, do not be afraid," Jack reached out. When his fingers touched Lyra's energy form, a jolt ran through him. It wasn't painful, but it was intense, like diving into ice-cold water. He gasped as the sensation spread up his arm and throughout his body. "What's happening to me?" he whispered, looking down to see his own hand beginning to glow with a soft blue light. "You are shedding your physical form," Lyra explained. "Your consciousness is separating from matter." The process accelerated. Jack felt lighter, as if gravity was losing its hold on him. His body began to glow brighter, becoming transparent. Around the edges, just as Lyra's had done. It should have been terrifying, but strangely, Jack felt calm. There was no pain, only a growing sense of freedom unlike anything he had ever experienced. "Lyra," he said, surprised that he could still speak without a solid mouth. "The ship. We need to help them." "Yes," she agreed. Together now, Lyra pulled him toward the crystal. As they touched its surface, light exploded around them. Jack felt his consciousness expand suddenly, as if his mind had been a tiny room that suddenly opened into an endless universe. He could feel Lyra's presence, and beyond her, thousands of other consciousnesses, the merged Vexala within the heart. They welcomed him, their thoughts brushing against his like gentle waves. Knowledge flooded into him. The history of the Vexala, the structure of reality beyond the physical dimension humans knew, the true nature of space, time, and energy. It was overwhelming but exhilarating. "Jack," Lyra's familiar voice came through the flood of information. "Focus your thoughts. The ship, remember the ship." Jack concentrated, and suddenly he could see the Endeavor in orbit, surrounded by the 3 Krell vessels. The human ship was badly damaged, its shields failing as purple energy beams struck it repeatedly. "How do we help them?" Jack asked, his thoughts now flowing directly to Lyra without words. "We are energy now," came her reply. "We can travel anywhere instantaneously. Think of the ship, and we will be there." Jack focused his thoughts on the Endeavor's bridge. In an instant, the sanctuary vanished around them. Jack felt a sensation of incredible speed, and then they were on the bridge of the Endeavor. Captain Peters and the crew couldn't see them in their energy form. They were shouting orders, desperately trying to keep the ship intact as it shuddered under another Krell attack. "They cannot see us," Lyra explained, "but we can affect the physical world. Feel the energy around you, Jack. Reach out with your consciousness and redirect it." Jack tried to do as she instructed. He could sense the energy fields of the ship's systems, the power flowing through its circuits. With a thought, he strengthened the failing shields, channeling energy from his own new form into them. "It's working," one of the crew members shouted. "Shields back to 60%. "Keep going," Lyra encouraged him. "Now let's deal with the Krell." Together, they extended their consciousness beyond the Endeavor to the attacking ships. Jack could sense the complex dimensional technology the Krell used, and now he understood how to disrupt it. With Lyra guiding him, Jack sent pulses of energy into the Krell ship's systems. Their weapons went offline, their engines failed. The dimensional fields that gave their hulls protection collapsed on the bridge. The crew watched in amazement as the Krell ship suddenly drifted powerless in space. "What's happening?" Captain Peters demanded. "Report!" "Unknown, sir," a crew member replied. "The Krell ships just shut down." Jack felt a surge of satisfaction. "Can we communicate with them?" he asked Lyra. "The crew, I mean." "Focus your energy into a visible form," she instructed. "Imagine yourself solid again, but only as an image." Jack concentrated, and gradually a glowing blue shape formed on the bridge, a transparent, luminous version of his human form. The crew gasped and backed away. Beside him, Lyra appeared in a similar manner. "Captain Peters," Jack said, his voice sounding strange and echoing. "It's Lieutenant Morgan." The captain stared in shock. "Morgan? What happened to you?" "I made a choice," Jack explained. "Lyra and I have merged with the heart. We're energy beings now." The Krell ships are disabled, Lyra added. They will not harm you again. Captain Peters approached cautiously. Lieutenant ... Can you come back? Return to normal? Jack shook his head. This is what I am now, Captain. It's not what I expected when I joined Starfleet, but... He looked at Lyra, feeling a connection to her that transcended physical bonds. I don't regret it. What will you do now? The captain asked. First, we'll help repair your ship, Lyra said. Then we must deal with the Krell, not just these ships, but their entire civilization. They have enslaved and imprisoned too many species across the galaxy. And after that? Jack added, feeling excitement at the possibilities before him. The universe is open to us in ways I never imagined. We'll explore places no human has ever seen. The shuttle returned from the planet's surface with Commander Kelly, Dr. Daniels, and Sam. They were stunned to see Jack's new form, but accepted his decision with a mixture of sadness and wonder over the next few hours. Jack and Lyra helped repair the Endeavor, channeling energy directly into its systems. They also freed the beings imprisoned on the Krell ship's other rare species that had been captured for study when it was time to say goodbye. The entire crew gathered in the hangar bay. Jack floated before them, his blue energy form glowing. Softly, I'll miss you all, he said. But this isn't really goodbye. I'll be watching over Earth and the Endeavor from time to time. Captain Peters stepped forward. You're still a Starfleet officer, Morgan. The strangest one we've ever had, but still one of us. Don't forget that. Never, sir, Jack replied with a smile in his voice. Jack and Lyra rose slowly, passing through the ship's hull as if it wasn't there. Outside, they paused to look at the stars, now not distant points of light, but places they could visit with a mere thought. Are you ready? Lyra asked, her consciousness brushing against his. Jack felt a thrill of excitement. Where do we go first? Everywhere, she replied. We have eternity before us. Together they streaked away from the Endeavor, two beings of pure energy and consciousness moving faster than light itself. As they traveled, Jack sensed other Vexala consciousnesses reaching out to welcome him to his new existence. He had freed Lyra from chains of matter. Now she had freed him from the limitations of human existence. It was a reward truly beyond imagination, and just the beginning of their journey together. From the bridge of the Endeavor, Captain Peters watched the 2 points of light vanish into the distance. He didn't fully understand what had happened to his lieutenant, but he recognized the look he had seen in Jack's energy form. It was the face of someone who had found exactly where they belonged. Godspeed, Lieutenant Morgan, he whispered. Wherever you're going. The captain turned away from the viewport. Helm, set course for Earth. Let's go home and tell them what happened here. Though I'm not sure anyone will believe it. As the Endeavor turned and engaged its engines, 2 points of blue light followed briefly in its wake, unseen by the crew. Then they shot away in another direction, toward adventures no human had ever dreamed of. The human had rescued her from chains, and her reward had indeed been beyond imagination.